Welcome to IIL's Introduction to Project Management. Now this video is a very quick but thorough introduction and should give you an overview of key concepts in project management. You will see this video as a starting point of learning more about project management and its benefits, perhaps even adopting project management as a new career path. You will have a better understanding of the importance of the discipline of project management to your work and to the success of the organization. So maybe the first question on your mind probably is, who is this guy and why should I listen to him? Good question. My name is Greg Balestrero, and I am the Strategic Advisor to IIL for Sustainability, Leadership, and Corporate Consciousness. Now for nearly 40 years I've been engaged in the discipline of project management as either a project team member or perhaps a manager. As a result, I'm both a practitioner and an evangelist for excellence in project and performance management. Now over the last 30 years in particular, I served as president and CEO of 3 different professional associations, all of which were related to project management in some way. The last one was the Project Management Institute, or PMI. My work took me all over the world, and I had the privilege of meeting and working with phenomenal professionals in the field of project management. Now many were members of PMI, many were members of other professional associations, but all carried the passion for the profession and all showed the intellectual scars of the school of hard knocks, those which you get from real powerful learning and experience. And I too carried the passion of the need for getting better business results, but primarily through the discipline of project management. I help promote project management as both a formal discipline and a critical skill set for life. Now I've witnessed firsthand the benefits of a formalized approach to project management, both in developing and developed nations. I've seen it applied across all industries in both the public and private sectors. Now during my tenure as CEO at PMI, I encountered quite a few skeptics or non-believers in the discipline of project management. Their position was often stated by, anyone and everyone can do project management. The comment was usually followed by, well, I do my taxes every year, or I plan my daily work effectively, and I get it done on time. I would smile and respond with a simple question. Could you do the same thing perhaps in India with 10 people executing your work for you? Or could you use your approach to building houses and have them built on time, on budget, time after time? Typically they'd be taken aback at first, look at me kind of askance, and then smile and say, I get it. So for those of you seeing this video for the first time, we're trying to make sure that you get it. But when I say you, what we mean is anyone perhaps who's been asked to join a project team at your company. Or maybe you're considering project management as a career. Or you could be an experienced PM and you're looking for a way to share the ins and outs of project management with non-project management personnel. Or perhaps you're a senior manager who needs to communicate and understand project management and those engaged in the profession. Now this video is a very quick but thorough introduction and should give you an overview of key concepts in project management. It won't make you a project manager, nor get you ready to take on complex projects. However, it will give you a much better appreciation of how important the discipline of project management is to your organization and how valuable a good project manager is to the success of any project. We hope we will build a desire, the passion to learn more about this field that continues to grow exponentially in terms of its global application and the value it brings to organizations everywhere. Okay, so let's answer a few questions that can help you understand the fundamentals, like what is or what isn't a project? What is the discipline of project management? And maybe why does a company do project management in the first place? Well, first off, a project, as we can see here, is simply a temporary endeavor, usually a series of activities undertaken to create a unique product, service, or result. And oftentimes the term value is substituted for the word result. In other words, it's assumed that the end result is something of value, we hope, and meets the expectation of the customer. And within every project, there is a set of processes used to ensure that the work is coordinated and the intended work is understood and can be completed within the constraints of time and budget. So as we go through this video, you will hear me refer to the discipline of managing projects. Now, what I mean by discipline is defined as a body of knowledge that includes the inputs or resources, the tools, the processes, the knowledge areas, the techniques, and the means to defining expected outcomes that bring predictability and consistency to every project, regardless of the organization or the type of project. Now, to help you understand the roots of the discipline of project management, let me share a little of the history of the profession. Its roots actually begin in the late 19th century when the Industrial Revolution required redundant activities, producing the same value over and over with similar, predictable results. The end of the guilds brought the need for mass production, predictability in the design and manufacturing, and a host of new products and services. It required a way to launch new production lines and to build and commission new factories and to add new products and services. Now, one of the first applications of the modern discipline was in the early part of the 20th century in the United Kingdom, just prior to and during World War I. A gentleman by the name of Henry Gantt was engaged in helping build battleships for the war effort. The need to manage the construction of these massive vessels in a very short time was actually critical to the success of the war effort. To help him, he created and utilized a chart which showed the sequencing of the tasks in a major project and how that sequence affected the overall project. It began a discipline that allowed project leaders, well, to assign resources, for example, into different phases of the project. You know, it was so effective that it helped build the first battleship on time and on budget and within scope, which was a first for the British Navy at that time. It may very well have been the last time a battleship was ever built on time and on budget and on scope. The Gantt chart, as it is known, was standardized and survived over 100 years and is still being used today as an effective scheduling tool in virtually every industry. Now, the discipline of project management expanded throughout the Great Depression, and especially during and after World War II. For example, in World War II, the mobilization of men and women, material, the creation of armaments and weapons created a massive demand for a discipline that embraced time and resource variables and could help address the urgency of these massive projects. Due to the size and scope of the activities, standards for scheduling were critical, and new additions to the science of project management evolved, which included logistics management and operations research. Now, following the war, the demand increased dramatically in the private sector to provide more consistency and predictability in managing projects. Some of the trends and activities that fueled this demand included reconstruction of the entire infrastructure of the war-torn nations throughout the world. Next was introduction of nuclear energy as a source of power and propulsion, which created the critical path method. Then there was the worldwide housing boom. And of course, we can't forget the rapid growth and application of computer technology. And then there was the advent of continuous quality and productivity improvement in business. And of course, the growth of desktop computing. And more recently, the creation of the internet and internet commerce. In the last quarter of the 20th century, standardized approaches to managing projects were documented and published globally. Certification programs were developed to measure and attest the competency of individuals to manage projects. Companies and governments adopted and modified these standards while encouraging their employees to become certified. Now, for those of you unfamiliar with certification, it's actually a process to recognize the knowledge, the competency, or in some cases both, through a testing process typically done by an independent organization. There are several programs that offer credentials throughout the world. However, for the sake of example, PMI offers a certification program which includes a certificate to recognize knowledge to be better prepared for joining a project team. It's called a certificate for an associate in project management, or as we finally called it, CAPM. And another to recognize one's knowledge and competence to manage a project. It's called a project management professional, or the PMP. Now, coupled with the development of degree-granting programs, the discipline of project management reached maturity. Today, companies, organizations, government entities, and NGOs alike have come to realize how connected the discipline of project management is to their success. As a result, these same organizations are becoming project-centric or focused, and they have come to believe that professionals with experience and the proper degrees or credentials are necessary to deploy the discipline. This means that careers in project management are absolutely booming all over the world. So, okay, I don't want to turn this into a history lesson, but I do want to point out that the discipline of managing projects has been evolving for over a century. The important points to remember here are, number one, organizations are rapidly becoming project-focused for success. Secondly, they are demanding disciplined and consistent approaches to carry out projects, and professionals are skilled and experienced in a discipline to lead the project teams. And third, organizations are drawing more and more people into the realm of a project team, and careers and positions related to project management are prevalent in nearly every industry today and a growing trend in companies throughout the world. Now, let's work on the language of project management, and that's what we're going to do here, in case you want to talk with professionals in the field. Now, I want to dispel the myth that PMs may speak in complex language. Their language may be specialized, but it is very, very intuitive. And I think it is a language of specialty as we defined a project. Now, when we define a project, it's a set of activities with a defined end result created through a series of activities over a specific time frame with a defined investment of people, technology, and money. Now, projects are often said to exist within the triple constraints, and the triple constraints are budget, time, and scope. But as we put multiple projects together, or they begin to have multiple outcomes, then things changed, and there are other terms which are used to describe this work. Now, first is the term program. Now, programs, a group of related projects, subprograms, and program activities managed in such a coordinated way to obtain benefits not available to managing them individually. Now, let me give you an example. Let's take a bank, and a bank may choose to put in automated teller machines for the first time. The program would include the projects associated with writing and testing the software interfaces, selecting and buying the ATM machines, installing the machines at all the prescribed locations, educating the branch managers on their maintenance, educating the customers on their use and location, etc. Each of these projects or subprograms would be managed by a different group in the bank, such as marketing, capital purchasing, IT management, customer relations, etc. This would be called the ATM program of work. Now, another term that we're going to talk about is the term portfolio. Now, don't wrinkle your brow and get all kind of upset about this. Yes, this is a term traditionally used to describe financial or capital investments. However, in the project management field, it's defined as projects, programs, sub-portfolios, and operations managed as a group to achieve strategic objectives. So let's take our bank example. Senior management may have decided to gain a strategic advantage over their competitors. They needed to become easier to work with. One program was the ATM program. Another program may be internet and mobile banking, using personal computers and smartphones to conduct day-to-day banking. A third program may be to move away from traditional branches and move to where the customers are, such as shopping centers, supermarkets, and other retail outlets. This portfolio of program comprises the strategic investment in projects and programs to make the bank more competitive. I hope that makes sense to you. Now, another term that we're going to use here is a term that you probably have heard often, and that's critical success factors. Now, we already told you that a successful project involves the triple constraints of time, budget, and scope. Seems straightforward, right? Well, yes and no. There are many other success factors which may not be so clear and may very well be dependent on the type of project. One constraint not discussed is realizing the benefits of the project for the customer. Let's take the banking example, for example. Let's say that the project team projects the entire project will be conducted over 3 years. And the bank sees the opportunity to save money by purchasing all of the ATMs immediately and putting them in storage. However, by the time the program is launched 3 years later, the ATMs are considered a legacy version. That is, there is a later, more user-friendly system with more features. Did the bank achieve their strategic objective to get the system on time, on budget, and within scope? Perhaps. But the bigger question is, did the bank achieve the strategic advantage it sought to achieve? Well, chances are it did not. Technology advancement, sequencing of activities, negotiations to achieve budget and scope, cultural differences in global project teams, decision trees and responsibilities for changes in scope, and other factors enter into achieving critical success, depending on the project. These and other critical success factors may very well be part of the project and will require other skills to enter into the project, program, or portfolio team leader. So now we know how to define a project, a program, and a portfolio, and understand the triple constraint and other critical success factors. So, are you ready to invite your friendly neighborhood project manager to lunch and sit down and talk turkey? Well, probably not yet. I want to first build your understanding of how a project might be structured over its life. So let's look briefly at the process groups. Now, to define that, a process is a group of interconnected activities that are repeated over and over to achieve an end result. It is different from a project, since the project is over when, well, it's over. A process is repeated in a fashion that is preserved as a way of doing something. Now, to determine how many processes there are, we need to take a look at a standard on project management. Now, I'm prejudiced about the Project Management Institute and most experienced with it due to my contribution as their president and CEO. However, I need to be candid that there are many fine standards throughout the world, and frankly, they share more common elements than they do elements which make them unique. But I'm most familiar with the Guide to the Project Management Body of Knowledge, or what's commonly called the PMBOK Guide. It's developed by professional project managers around the world and published through the auspices of PMI. Now, the PMBOK Guide is a standard of the American National Standards Institute in its 5th edition, with more than 3 million copies in circulation. Now, let's look at the standard. It lists 5 distinct process groups. First is initiating. That's a good place to begin. Often considered one of the most important phases of a project, this is where the entire project is constructed. Among the work group in this project is describing in detail the objectives, the critical success factors, and expected outcomes for the project, especially in the eyes of the ultimate consumer. Next would be picking the right people for the project team, which includes all doers as well as all stakeholders, such as the customer. And then setting the right culture, like a culture of openness, clear communication, and trust. And then perhaps it's setting the culture of responsibility, such as reporting, oversight, duty of care, and duty of loyalty. And assigning decision-making authority. And last, preparing a detailed charter, including all of the information I just mentioned. Now, next is the planning phase. This is where the details of the work are developed. This is normally done with the entire team, bringing to bear the collective and diverse skills and knowledge of the team members. Well, in this process group, we might include preparing subsections, which include a communications plan, a procurement plan, a quality assurance plan, a plan to deal with unplanned issues which arise or changes that might have to be made while working on the project. It would also include a breakdown of the work that needs to be accomplished. And let's not forget the preparation of a detailed schedule, including the sequencing of resources to achieve success, a detailed budget with contingency considerations, and a list of risks that might get in the way of success and a plan to mitigate those risks. Next is the executing phase. Now, don't worry, this isn't a process to eliminate the project leader if the project fails. This means to start the project and work the plan. This is where the rubber meets the road. Here we might find some of the following activities, like monitoring and measuring performance against the plan. Next would be recognizing risk events, or events which might get in the way of successful completion, or even one which might be an opportunity which, if not taken, might have a cost associated with that choice. We could be addressing the need for changes in the project, or communicating frequently and effectively to stakeholders. The next process group is called monitoring and controlling. And one way of looking at this is as if it's a driver of a car on a long trip. The intended arrival time and date, the proper directions and guidance, ensuring proper engine performance, adhering to local speed limits, scheduled rider and driver rest breaks, adjustments for unusual road conditions, are all factors which may affect one's ability to arrive at the destination on time, on budget, and within the scope of the trip. So for a project manager, this means staying within time and budget constraints, seeking out status and piecing together the true conditions of the entire project. Or maybe it's preparing and communicating risk mitigation strategies to just the right stakeholder. Now the fifth and final process group is closing. And this is the end game, completing the project and achieving the objectives of the project, or having the project canceled for some reason. Not the same outcomes by far, but equally a possible closing condition. This is a critical learning step for all and a crucial step in ensuring that the customer is satisfied. Now this often includes demonstrating the achievement of success to the customer, capturing additional activities to bring the project to full customer satisfaction. In some cases, providing commissioning information such as maintenance schedules, operational instructions, and warranties. Next would be cataloging lessons learned, either painful or joyful, to provide a legacy or leave behind for other project teams. Quite comprehensive, isn't it? Well, we're almost ready to sit down and talk to the project manager and understand the language about what has to take place to manage a project. But we're not quite there yet. There is also the knowledge that has to be present, either in the project leader or the team, to accomplish what has to be done. This is the intellect that allows a team to perform well on a consistent basis. These knowledge areas round out the very significant body of knowledge that makes project management a powerful discipline. Now, according to the PMBOK guide, the knowledge to successfully manage a project falls into 10 distinct areas. Now, they are far too comprehensive to cover in detail in this video, so I'm only going to quickly highlight them here. Now, first is integration management. Now, these are the processes and activities to identify, define, combine, unify, and coordinate the various processes and project management activities within the project management process groups. In short, it means being able to make choices, balance resources, and bring it all together. Now, second is scope management. Project scope management includes the processes required to ensure that the project includes all of the work required, but only the work that is required to complete the project successfully. Hence, project scope management is primarily concerned with defining and controlling what is and is not included in the project. Third is my favorite, time management. The processes required to manage timely completion of the project. Next is cost management. And project cost management includes the processes involved in planning, estimating, budgeting, financing, funding, managing, and controlling costs so that the project can be completed within the approved budget. Next is quality management. And these are the processes and activities that determine quality policies, objectives, and responsibilities so that the project will satisfy the needs for which it was undertaken. And then, of course, there's human resource management. This is about selecting and developing a project team that can produce the deliverables to meet the project or objectives. Next is communications management, and that includes the processes that are required to ensure timely and appropriate planning, collection, creation, distribution, storage, retrieval management, control, monitoring, and the ultimate disposition of project information. In short, making sure that the team understands how to communicate clearly, simply, and accurately to all stakeholders. Next is the risk management knowledge area. and that's a critical one. It is a process of planning how to manage risks on a project, whether positive or negative, to the success of the project. It means identifying, analyzing, and planning possible responses to risks and controlling those risks during the project lifecycle. Next is procurement management. And this is a knowledge area that includes the processes necessary to purchase or acquire products, services, or results needed from outside the project team, and making sure that the delivery of these assets mesh correctly to achieve success. It might even include contract management for outside services. And finally, stakeholder management. Now, this is a crucial knowledge area because it's the processes required to identify the people, groups, or organizations that could impact or be impacted by the project, to analyze those expectations and to their impact on the project, and to develop appropriate management strategies for effectively engaging these stakeholders in project decisions and executions. Wow. I know we've asked you to absorb a lot of new information about managing projects. I'd like to share an expression that I've often used in situations like this. It's like taking a drink out of a fire hose. Hopefully, though, you've gained an appreciation and respect for the role that project management plays in making organizations successful. But equally important, I hope that you can gain a respect of project leaders and team members, and the fact that project management is a real management discipline in and of itself. Yeah, I think you're ready to sit down and buy that project manager a lunch and have a conversation with them. You know, I think too, you might be able to appreciate what a project manager must go through to deliver on the expectations of the customer. And maybe, just maybe, you might see an opportunity to pursue a career in project management. You know, I know for a fact that across the globe, the work of organizations is being organized and pursued as projects. The opportunities are endless when it comes to managing a meaningful project, which is crucial to the success of literally any type of organization. There is a vibrant and exciting future for project managers across the globe and in virtually any industry. And let's face it, would an organization like to improve its chances of implementing successful strategic projects, or do you think it would like a roll of the dice for implementation? Me? My experience tells me that there is no doubt that companies are willing to invest to enhance the chances for success. So, if you are interested in learning more about project management and how to build your project skills and knowledge, or maybe gain an understanding of the various standards and how they apply to projects in your company, or maybe you want to prepare for certification, or just learn how to be more valuable as an employee in your company, then don't waste any time. Get up, get on your computer and go to IIL.com and see what we have to offer you. We are literally the largest and best provider of continuing education in project management in the world. We have over 400 courses. We have IIL companies in 18 countries, and we train in more than 150 countries every single year. In fact, a personal mentor of mine, Dr. Harold Kersner, leads our team of 350 faculty, which are located all over the world. You know, we've literally helped thousands and thousands of professionals become better project, program, and portfolio managers and build their personal value to their organizations. So what are you waiting for? Get up, send your request for a free consultation immediately to learning@iil.com right now and see how you can learn to add more value to your company and help them become more successful every single day. Thanks very much for your attention, and my very best wishes of good luck to you.